Hey, what's up, players? I was literally in the middle of working on a different video, but with all the stuff surrounding Sony nowadays, especially with their most recent decision, I'm sorry, I just had to talk about this because what is going on over there? I wanted to take a step back and look at a scenario that happened almost a decade ago that made me first pause and think about what's going on at Sony right now, because I don't agree with this decision. So let's take a step back to 2017, which I think we can all agree was such an amazing year for gaming. And on June 5th, 2017, the former president of PlayStation at the time, Jim Ryan, was in an interview with Time. Now I'll link this article down below because I think it's a pretty interesting read, especially to get insight on what his thoughts were of the Nintendo Switch at the time, since this was the year that the Switch had came out. But there was one thing in particular that really made me scratch my ear a bit. Before I get into the line I want to read, in the previous conversation they were talking about the PlayStation Vita and how that was performing, which, oh my gosh, that's a bit of foreshadowing for what's to come. But the part that I want to read is this. Another concern occasionally raised by PlayStation devotees involves the company's once ubiquitous PlayStation 2. While Sony has in recent years devoted resources to bringing a handful of popular older titles to the PlayStation 4, the better part of that library is lost to time. For now, it seems that's where it will remain. And quoted, we have Jim Ryan. When we've dabbled with backwards compatibility, I can say that it's one of those features that is much requested, but not actually used much, says Ryan. That, and I was at a Gran Turismo event recently where they had PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 games. And the PS1 and PS2 games, they looked ancient. Like, why would anyone play this? And yeah, that made a lot of people upset. I remember that caught fire, and man, I was not happy about that as well. Talk about completely out of touch, because I love the PS1, PS2, PS3, and I got the PS4 much later, so I don't have as much fondness for the PlayStation 4, but 1, 2, and even parts of 3, I have so many fond memories of. So that left a bad taste in my mouth, as well as a lot of other people. Now, I will give him credit. In June 11, 2021, he would go on to apologize for his comments and to clarify what he meant, but come on, the damage had been done. So that's been a comment that I've been thinking in the back of my mind for many years now, and oh my gosh, all the stuff that's been happening just made me think back to that, how a lot of this has just been slowly building up to where we're at now. If you fast forward to March 4th, 2026, Sony announces that they are no longer interested in bringing PlayStation titles to the PC. So games such as the Spider-Man 1 and 2 games by Insomniac Games, the God of War games, Ghost of Tsushima, and all the other games that they had brought over that were originally PlayStation exclusives, they had brought over to PC, and now they appear to be walking that back and are no longer interested in doing that for the future, citing that there were just poor PC sales that didn't make it worth it. But come on, man, that's free extra money. And if they're citing low sales, it's because that they released these ports months or even years after the games were initially released on the original PlayStation consoles. So anyone that already wanted to play them, they already had a chance to play them. So these weren't new titles anymore. They may be new to the PC market that doesn't have a PlayStation, but I don't know what they were expecting sales wise. Next, to talk about the whole Destiny 2 stuff. I won't do a deep dive into this because admittedly I'm not tuned into the Destiny scene, as I know there are dedicated content creators to talk about those, so follow those for more deeper dives into this. But I have a few friends that are super into Destiny, and a lot of the stuff I've heard in passing. So I figured, in the context of all this stuff going on, it's at least worth a mention. On July 2022, Bungie was acquired by Sony, which was a crazy move because before they were working under Microsoft within the Xbox brand to work on Halo, which personally that's how I'm more familiar with Bungie and their work, particularly Halo 1 and 2, which I love those games. I'm working my way through Halo 3 for the first time, and I'm not exactly sure what the timeline is. Again, consult Destiny content creators for more info on this, but at some point between the development of Destiny 1 and 2, they would eventually go on to go independent before getting acquired by Sony. So it's definitely an interesting trajectory to go from one major studio that makes console hardware to their competitor. But, you know, they went with the money goes. But what a lot of people didn't expect to happen was on May 21st, 2026, Bungie announced that they will be closing the chapter on Destiny 2 and they're going to be shutting its online service. This comes about 4 years after they got acquired by Sony. So, I mean, at some point it was going to happen, but I think people were expecting this was going to last a little bit longer with the extra funding. But something that a lot of people definitely didn't expect was that not that long after they announced that they were ending Destiny 2 support, that a month later 292 Bungie employees got laid off by Sony. Quite a significant number. So it puts into question what the future of Bungie looks like, because I'm not sure how Marathon is doing nowadays and if there will even be a Destiny 3 at this point, or if Bungie will even still continue to be around. But of course, not long after they announced that they are laying off a bunch of employees from one of the companies that they acquired, they also announced that they are going to be straight up deleting movies they already owned. So apparently, due to some licensing thing, they are going to be pulling a lot of movies starting September 1st, 2026. So that's literally not that much time before these are gone. So not only will they be delisting a huge chunk of movies from their online store, but even if you've already purchased them, they will just straight up remove them from your library. Like, even though you already paid for these, they can just straight up revoke them. It's like the equivalent to them breaking into your house and stealing the physical copy from you, except in this case, they just are denying permission for you to continue to view them. So this was already raising conversations about the whole idea of like digital ownership. Is this a good thing? The whole concept of, you know, you're not even like buying games, but rather you're renting permission until they get taken away from you. But Sony just could not help themselves. So on July 1st, Sony has announced that in 2028, in January, they will no longer be producing discs. They are foregoing physical and they're going 100% on the digital, baby. Okay, so I know the PlayStation blog has been around for a long time and hardly anyone uses it, but I feel like with an article like this, to continue to have the "did you like this" be an option is kind of crazy work, because no, I do not like this. Is there a dislike thing? So I guess in a way, Rockstar was ahead of the curve by announcing that Grand Theft Auto 6 will not come with a disc with the physical copies, but rather a download code. And, you know, Sony can't help but kick us a little bit more by announcing that, hey, we're officially going to be ending the PS3 and PlayStation Vita store. So shortly after they announced that they're ending physical discs for the PS5 moving forward in January 2028, they are also announcing that they are closing their digital stores for the PlayStation 3 and PS Vita at the same time. So really loving this digital future that PlayStation is trying to pull by going, you know, digital only with the PS5 and most likely the PS6, while also removing the ability to play their digital libraries from the older systems. Again, I do not like this. Who in their right mind would like this? So the thing is, I've grown up a console player. Like, I've definitely grew up, I would say, a Sega kid before transitioning to mainly Sony and Nintendo. But nowadays, I've kind of just moved on to PC, because even though I have a PS4, I don't have a PS5, and I have a Switch 1, but I don't have a Switch 2. Because really anything that I want to play, I could just play on PC. But I won't deny that having the option to be able to play games either digitally or physically is still such a valuable thing, and really is so anti-consumer to just take that away. Like, I don't know, there's just something more appealing about going to a game store, if there's even a GameStop near you anymore, or going to a retail store, or even just buying something on Amazon or whatever. Like, being able to have a physical copy that you can hold and see and have as part of your collection that you can have on your shelf or whatever, that's more appealing to a digital game. Now granted, this is me speaking as a primarily PC gamer, but even with PC games, you have other platforms besides just Steam. Yes, Steam is the biggest library, but you also have GOG, you also have Epic Game Store, which I don't really use outside of getting those free games. There's all sorts of options, but you can also be able to play a whole bunch of other games that you wouldn't be able to play on the consoles. Like there's a bunch of older games that may no longer be available on the modern consoles. There's tons of ways to play retro games. There's just a lot of different options to build your digital library, and there's even ways to back up your stuff so that it's not permanently lost. So far, digital's been working well for PC, but consoles, they just do not have what it takes to go fully digital. And I think that they should just continue to have options for the consumer to choose between buying games digitally or buying games physically. And really, seeing the decisions that these companies are making, oh my gosh, it is so much better to just go the physical route. Like, dude, something about having a physical copy of a game is that you can just, I don't know, it's like something tangible. It's something that you can put on a shelf and, you know, someone can ask something about it. Like if someone's never seen Spyro the Dragon before, like, dude, you even have the disc and the back of the manual that talks about Crash 3? Yeah, Crash 3 Warped. Like, there's value of being able to have physical copies of your games. Like, dude, the memories that I had of Virtua Fighter 5 on the PS3, vanilla FF5, but even stuff as late as like the PS4 era. Like, I was looking forward to The Last Guardian because I loved Ico and Shadow of the Colossus on the PS2, and I was waiting for this game for the longest time. And you know, I don't love this game on the same level as Ico or Shadow of the Colossus, but it's still great to be able to have a game from the studio. And I'm still super upset at Sony for shutting down Japan Studio. That's another thing I should have talked about, is them shutting down Japan Studio. So, oh my gosh, like no Ape Escape, none of their wacky games that they used to have. Like, oh my gosh, that's one that I forgot to include on here, but I'm still mad at them for shutting down Japan Studio. Yeah, even having something like 13 Sentinels, which as far as I'm concerned, 13 Sentinels is still not on PC. It's on the Switch now. They ported that over to the Switch, but you can't even get this on PC. And the whole thing with the PlayStation 3 and PS Vita stores shutting down, dude, it sucks. If you've been a Nintendo fan, you've been down this road before. Like, years ago, I made a video about games to download for your 3DS, for the 3DS and Nintendo Wii U eShop closed, and man, I'm still gutted that happened, because I had so many memories with my 3DS. So yeah, it sucks to have to go through this again, actually multiple times, because initially they were gonna shut down the PlayStation 3 and Vita store, like, I forgot how many years ago. I think it might have been like two years ago, I believe, something like that. Because of a fan outcry, they decided to rescind that. But now it looks like they're going right back to this, and it looks like they're sticking to this because of their decision to go digital only with the PS5 moving forward. So it looks like they're sticking with this decision now. So not happy about this. So a lot of this stuff has been boiling for a good while now, but you know, this is one of those cases where I was like, okay, I recognize this stuff. I'm not happy, but you know, I'm just gonna acknowledge this stuff that's happening, but I'm just gonna, you know, move on. But the thing that broke the straw on the camel's back was this most recent announcement that happened, you know, at the time of this recording, on June 5th, 2026, was the fact that Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls for PC is going to be blocked for 132 countries. So on SteamDB, it's revealed that there are 132 countries that are not going to be able to play Marvel Tokon because of a PlayStation Network requirement, since PlayStation is publishing Marvel Tokon. So it's going to be available on PC, but you need to have a PlayStation Network account. The thing is, there are places in the world that don't have a PlayStation Network account. And this is a pretty significant list of places that won't be able to play Marvel Tokon simply because PlayStation Network is not available in their country. Places like Afghanistan, Cambodia, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Egypt, Ethiopia, Ghana, Haiti, Morocco, Nigeria, the Philippines. I mean, you can see this list right now. There's so many places that won't be able to play. And if you've kept up with gaming news, you know this is not the first time that Sony has found themselves in hot water for this, because it's happened before 2 years ago with Helldivers 2. And I believe how it worked, feel free to correct me because I don't play Helldivers 2, but when the game first launched, there was a thing that initially said, hey, you should link your PlayStation accounts to the game, but you could just ignore that and just play the game as normal. Before they went back on that and were like, no, it's a forced requirement. Like, you can't play this game if you don't have a PlayStation account. And the same thing happened where there was a huge list of places that weren't able to play that weren't able to play Helldivers 2 all of a sudden, despite being able to previously. Now, I'm hearing that they reversed that decision. I'm not sure the details on that. I believe all it meant was that they took away the forced requirement, but places that didn't have PlayStation Network still weren't able to buy the game. So it's like a kind of a fix, but not really. Those that play Helldivers 2, feel free to let me know more about the details on that. But we're definitely running into a similar situation here with Marvel Tokon. And literally, I was just saying how I'm actually kind of looking forward to this game. Like, I went from, being like, oh, this game looks pretty cool, maybe I'll pick it up down the line, to actually now being interested in it. So now seeing that it's blocked in so many countries, that's no bueno. That's not cool, man. And since this is Arc System Works, there's a good chance that those will be a part of the Arc World Tour, or this game will have its own separate world tour, because Sony and Marvel and all that stuff, so maybe they'll want to do their own thing rather than have it be with the Arc System World Tour or whatever. But whatever the case, there's gonna be a tour for this game, so having players from so many parts of the world that won't be able to play this hyped game. So to recap, the former Sony PlayStation CEO initially said that he did not see the value in PS1, PS2 games, that they looked ancient. Again, he did walk back on that, but it's not good luck for the higher-ups to be dismissal of legacy titles like that. Sony taking away PC access to their PlayStation titles. Sony acquiring Bungie to make more Destiny, only to end Destiny but continue Marathon as their live service title because they apparently never learned from Concord. Removing 500 plus digital movies, making it so you can't buy PlayStation 3 or PlayStation Vita games digitally anymore. So those games that were only available on those hardwares, you will no longer have access to if you didn't already buy them. Sony moving towards a all digital PlayStation future, and also games that they want you to spend money on, you can't even spend money on, such as Marvel Tokon. Man, it's really disappointing to see, because like I said, even though I primarily play PC nowadays, I was a huge fan of Sony back in the day. Like, I grew up with the PS1 era, PS2, PS3. I don't have as much fondness with the PS4, because by the time the PS4 came out, I was already transitioned to PC, but there are games that I enjoy from different eras in PlayStation's legacy. I wish I had a copy of a PS2 game on me, but you get the point. Like, I've been supportive of them, but man, they are just making so many bad decisions. And it's sad because it's not just them. It's like Nintendo's been making some bad decisions, Microsoft's sort of on the come up, but then they also make questionable decisions. So honestly, yeah, I don't know if any company's making great decisions. So this is not the kind of stuff that I normally talk about on this channel, because I'd rather would just talk about games that I enjoy, or talk about Christianity in gaming, which I do want to get back to making a lot more of those, or all sorts of other stuff. But all these little cuts that's been happening over time that I wouldn't say I ignored. Like, I definitely have felt a certain type of way, but I just kept it to myself or whatever. But with the whole thing with Sony closing down the PS3 and Vita store and moving to an all digital future for their console, and Marvel Tokon, like, now we're getting into the fighting game space specifically, I just have to talk about this. Like I said, I wasn't ignoring all these things. Like, I was very much aware, but this is the point where I was like, I gotta talk about this now, because this is actually ridiculous. So normally I have my call to actions to be, like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow Jesus, read your Bible, etc. But in light of these things going on, if you are also just really tired of what Sony's been doing lately, here are some things I'd like to encourage us to do, if you so choose, of course. When it comes to Marvel Tokon, let Sony know that, dude, this is not cool. And specifically Sony, because Arc System Works, they're the developer. They are not the ones that are making this call to require the PlayStation Network requirements for PC users. This is not their decision. So we just want to direct the attention to Sony, because this is what they want to do. There's a petition that is currently going around. At the time of this recording, right now it's midnight where I am, so July 6th, where it is at 780 signatures out of 1,000. Actually, let me go ahead and refresh that. Oh wow, okay. When I refreshed it, it jumped from 780 to 946 signatures. So yeah, there's a lot of people that are passionate about this. Normally, I don't really pay that much attention to change.org petitions, because it seems like there's a petition for everything out there. But in this case, something's better than nothing. Like, if we reach the number of signatures and Sony ignores it, or they won't change their stance, then it is what it is, which would be unfortunate. But if they see that there's enough people that are outcrying this decision and they walk back on this, like how they did with Helldivers 2, then that's a victory. So we won't know unless we try. So we'll see if this petition works. I'll link it down in the description below if you want to sign for it yourself. In terms of Sony's strive for a digital future in 2028, look, please just cancel your PlayStation Plus. Like, one of the things that they're definitely going to be banking on a lot is reoccurring sources of revenue, and PlayStation Plus is a way of doing that. So please, come January 2028, just cancel your PlayStation Plus. Just take away that source of income. Any first party exclusives that will come out in 2028, just don't buy any first party Sony exclusives. Since 2028 will be 8 years removed from when the PlayStation 5 launched, which is crazy because it still feels like 2020 wasn't that long ago, and that the PlayStation 5 still feels relatively new, but it's actually pretty old. It's 6 years now. I don't know how to feel about that, but the PS5 is pretty old, so probably means that Sony will be revealing the PS6 sometime. We don't know when exactly, but if they're making this decision for the PS5, then of course we know that this is going to be a decision for the PS6, where they're not even going to give you the option of having a physical or digital only edition. It's just going to be a digital only console. I think we can all assume at this point that's what they're going to do. So honestly, skip the PS6. Just don't get it. We've seen how Sony has handled their digital media at this point. There's no way that it's going to get any better with the PS6. So honestly, just skip that console and really just tackle your backlog. Like, I think I have enough games in my backlog of games I haven't beaten to last me for many years to come, especially with have working full-time and having responsibilities and family and all that stuff. So I just encourage you, just tackle your backlog, play more indie games. A lot of indie games are short enough where you can just pick them up, play, beat them, and then move on to the next one. So I highly encourage you to try that. And as for the PS3 and Vita games, just get as much of them as you can before the store closes. Now, I'm not sure how far emulation has come with the PS3 and Vita. Once those store closes down, and that will be the only way to access games that otherwise would be lost to time. So if you definitely have your original hardware, look, get them before it's gone. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Like I said, this is not the video I was planning to make. I was in the middle of working on something else, but dude, once I saw the Marvel Tokon news, that's when I just had to talk about this, because this is a lot of stuff that's been building up for a long time now, but I just didn't want to talk about. I was aware of, but I'd rather just use my platform to talk about other stuff that I'd like to talk about, like I had mentioned, talk about games I'm interested in, games I'm playing, gaming and Christianity, that kind of stuff. But at this point, I just had to talk about this because it's too hard to ignore at this point. So let me know down below how you feel about any of this stuff. Marvel Tokon, Sony taking away movies, digital future, shutting down the store, any of this. Let me know how you feel down below. On a much lighter note, if you're looking for a non-denominational church, down in the description below will be a link to a church locator. Also down there you'll find a link to two Discords. One is my Discord and the other to the Christian fighting game community. Feel free to join those if you'd like. Also, if you like this video, if you got anything out of this, feel free to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. It will definitely help me out a ton. Alright, well, let me get back to making the stuff that I'd much rather be talking about. So I will see y'all next time. Take care. Peace.